Hi everyone. Welcome to Daily Recaps. Today, I am going to explain a movie called Cook Up a Storm. Hope you like it. Enjoy the video and take care. The movie starts from a local restaurant named The Seven in Spring Avenue, Hong Kong. And the talented chef of this restaurant, Sky Ko, expert in Southern-style cuisine. A TV host features the 30-year-old restaurant and its chef on a culinary program. Even though Sky is already known as the best chef on Spring Avenue, he showcases his skills on national television. Uni, his friend, is also introduced to the crowd alongside him. She is usually in charge of the restaurant's finances. Sky is adamant about the quality of the food and the amount of time they devote to their customers, which is one of the reasons for their restaurant's popularity. Most of the time, it is so crowded that patrons must queue outside the restaurant. On that particular day, a rude customer interrupts the line by barging in. Even though the customer boasts about his power and wealth, Sky refuses to serve him. Before leaving, the man laughs at their small restaurant and discloses that his boss has invited a world-class chef to open a 3-star restaurant opposite theirs. The thought scares Uni, but she dismisses it as a bluff. Meanwhile, in France, the crowned king and queen are welcoming their newborn son. They hold a massive ball to celebrate the birth and invite a world-class chef to cook for the guests. We are introduced to the said chef, Paul An. He is a Michelin-starred Korean chef trained in France. Paul has a special way of cooking that doesn't see boundaries in one particular style. He loves to mix cuisines from different countries and hence create innovative dishes. The queen is served a dessert that resembles a red egg but is filled with mango puree and coconuts as the chef's special. The dish is inspired by the tradition that symbolizes red eggs as a blessing to the newborn. The delicious dish and the meaning behind it touch the royals' hearts, and they applaud Paul's brilliant work. After the successful ball, he and his assistant Mayo return to the restaurant that they currently work in. The owner and their co-workers congratulate them on their success and greet them with cheers. Paul has also been promoted to executive chef of the entire Art Nouveau franchise, according to the owner. The step is significant for him, but he declines the offer, much to everyone's surprise. Paul wishes to return to Asia and pursue a more ambitious goal. A Chinese businessman who wants to open a 3-star restaurant has invited him and Mayo. The staff congratulates them on their decision and bids them farewell. Back on Spring Avenue, one of Sky's regular customers lets him know that the rumor about a new restaurant is true. The news is bittersweet for Sky because he wants his small colony to develop, but a new restaurant would mean fewer customers and more competition. When Sky was 10 years old, his father used to hit him and insult him for having no talent as a cook. One day, he abandoned Sky and chose to pursue his culinary career over being a father with the excuse that Sky couldn't even make a decent bowl of noodles. Ever since, Uncle Seven, the master and owner of the 7 restaurants, has taken care of him. He also taught Sky everything that he needed to know about food, unlike his father. Currently, Sky hasn't met his father in over 20 years and has no plan to reconcile with him. The following morning, Paul arrives in Hong Kong and goes to the market in search of a big grouper fish. The seller only has one of these and decides to sell it to Sky because he knows he can cook it better. Paul argues that a shopkeeper should not be prejudiced. They get into a small argument before the seller cuts the fish in half for both of them. A few weeks later is the opening ceremony of the 3-star restaurant named Stellar that is right in front of the 7 restaurant. The chairman and manager of the Lai Management Group arrive as the first guests of the restaurant and are welcomed by Paul and Mayo. At the same time, people from the 7 restaurant begin announcing various discount offers for the coming week. When the Stellar restaurant's security guards try to stop them, a fight ensues. This draws the attention of Paul and the other guests, who come out to see what all the fuss is about. When the discussion becomes heated, Mayo suggests that they hold a competition to see who is the best cook. Sky and Paul are familiar faces from the market and are up for the challenge. They decide to compete in a fish chopping contest. Paul goes first and skillfully picks all the ribs of a fish in no time. Following that, Sky takes the same fish and cuts it into even pieces in under a minute. The crowd claps for him, and even Paul is impressed. The chairman of the Lai Group has to announce the results. In an unbiased way, he claims that the true results will only be announced in the International Chef Challenge competition that both chefs have taken part in. He also announces that he is planning to take over the entire Spring Avenue colony to remove all the buildings and modernize it. If Sky wins in the competition, the chairman is willing to withdraw his plan to preserve the heritage of the colony. However, if Paul wins, he will go through with the plan. With the future of the entire colony in his hands, Sky feels pressured. Still, he is determined to do his best. For the next few days, the number of customers at the 7 restaurant decreases. Uni is concerned that the company will go out of business soon, but Sky assures her that this is not the case. He uses escargots and field snails as an example, claiming that there will always be people who prefer one over the other. They don't need to improve their food to compete with Stellar's because there will always be customers who prefer one over the other. The following day, Sky is met with disappointment when he goes to the market and finds out the Stellar restaurant has bought all the good fish. The day is frustrating for the workers in the 7 restaurant until they find out that Sky has been selected for the culinary competition. He'll be up against Paul for a spot in the semifinals soon. However, it is also revealed that the winner will be pitted against Mountain Co., the competition's 2-time winner. Sky is taken aback by the fact that his father has achieved the success he desired. He is now even more determined to compete against him in the finals. Uncle Seven returns home from his trip that night and invites Sky to a pub. Sky rushes to the location, eager to meet him after such a long time, but finds his father with Uncle Seven. Mountain states unequivocally that he still does not believe in Sky and has no regrets about abandoning him for his career. The words are the most hurtful thing Sky has ever heard, but he hides his pain with anger. He promises to win the competition and prove that being a good cook doesn't require being a bad person like Mountain is. On the day of the culinary duel, the contestants get 90 minutes to cook a dish of their choice and present it. Sky makes a traditional salt-baked duck, while Paul makes a foie gras sorbet. The entire 90 minutes are intense as both cooks show great expertise while cooking their respective dishes. Sky cuts the duck's inside with little to no effort and pulls it out efficiently, making the audience gasp. Finally, he bakes the duck in salt and removes the top layer, revealing a well-cooked duck with vegetable stuffings. When the judges taste it, they seem to prefer Sky's duck to Paul's sorbet. When it is time to vote, Paul receives 3 9s and a whopping 10 out of 10, scoring a total of 37 points. Right after, Sky receives 2 10s from the first 2 judges. The third one gives him 9, but the last judge only gives him an 8. Due to tie in points, the head judge makes the executive decision to award Paul the victory because his dish presentation was superior to Sky's bland plating. Despite the fact that Paul's victory should have cemented his skills as a chef, things do not go as planned. While they are celebrating their victory, the manager informs Paul that he wants Mayo to compete in the finals instead of him. He believes that in the media, a woman is far more appealing than a man. Mayo reveals that he has difficulty tasting certain flavors, such as saltines, when Paul tries to defend his position as head chef. He's been cooking with an notebook containing all of his recipes for the past few months and can't do anything on his own. Mayo also discloses that she never wanted to befriend Paul and only sided with him to surpass him as a chef. Betrayed and hurt, Paul storms out of the restaurant to never look back. That night, Sky bumps into a drunk Paul in front of an event stadium. They forget about their rivalry for a few minutes and share their past and troubles. Paul reveals that his father was a great chef, and his dying wish was for Paul to be like him. Sky also tells him about his and Mountain's relationship. After the conversation, they find mutual respect for each other. They also hurl bottles of alcohol at a billboard depicting Mountain while cursing him in Korean. Paul isn't ready to give up the race just yet. He decides to participate as an individual chef after debunking the rule book because he cannot participate as a representative of the Stellar restaurant. He even asks Sky to join him for the semifinals. At the same time, the manager of Stellar is at the 7 restaurant urging Uncle Seven to sign away his restaurant to the Lie Group. Paul and Sky appear at that point and announce their partnership. Paul also reminds the manager that he is eligible to compete in the championship as the competition winner. Sky and Paul will be working and training together for the next few weeks. They experiment with each other's cooking styles until they find a common ground of modernization of traditional cuisine. The culinary competition's semifinal will be held at Macca's Studio City Casino. The winner of the round will face Mountain Co., the current god of cookery. The competition starts and Sky and Paul use both their culinary strengths to compete against 4 other great chefs from different parts of the world. Somehow, the Lie Group has also made Mayo take part in the competition. She cooks with extra care to show that she is superior to Paul. The judges initially praised her oyster dish with frozen foam, but when it was served, they seemed to find it mediocre. Meanwhile, Paul and Sky make a mapo tofu that has been deconstructed. Sky's sense of taste helps determine the flavor of the ingredients, while Paul's understanding of the culinary artistry helps with the techniques and processes used. Together, they create a traditional dish with a modern design. The judges compliment the dish in detail, thoroughly impressed by it. They eventually win the competition and advance to the finals. As everyone applauds, Paul turns to Mayo, who stands with her head bowed, embarrassed that she betrayed him and was unable to prove herself. Only one of the chefs can compete against Mountain in the final round. Paul believes he is ineligible to participate due to his lack of taste. He also understands Sky's personal desire to defeat Mountain, so he suggests Sky face Mountain in the finals. Sky meets his father for the first time the next day. They must cook anything they want in an hour for the competition. Before the competition begins, the father and son do not speak. Mountain immediately begins to cook, but Sky is distracted by his thoughts. He remembers how Mountain abandoned him and how much the people in the neighborhood mean to him. The thoughts overwhelm Sky, and he can hardly focus. To get him to come back to his senses, Mountain splashes water at his son's face. Sky reappears as a result of the action, and he immediately begins making dough. Mountain creates an aesthetically pleasing sugar display of molten lava with a flower on top by the end of the hour. Sky's dish, on the other hand, is a little more straightforward but deeply personal. He makes noodles, similar to the ones Mountain made before abandoning his son years ago. The judges taste Mountain's dish and are blown away. Sky, on the other hand, never gives them his dish. Instead, he gives the bowl of noodles to Mountain. Mountain eats it and is moved as he remembers what the noodles represent. Finally, he has no choice but to acknowledge his son's culinary brilliance. The competition's winner is unknown because the judges were never given the opportunity to sample the food. In the next scene, we see a crowd gathered outside the 7 restaurant to celebrate the Chinese New Year. They enjoy a meal that is cooked by Sky and Paul together as a family. That's all from the movie. Thanks for watching. If you really want more interesting videos like this, then hit like and subscribe to support the daily recaps. See you again. Take care.